so I'm not crazy about lighting.
Okay, welcome everybody. You want to trade sides? Is that better?
No,
That's worse. Trade sides. Hey everybody, welcome to another live coaching training. We are going to talk about some good stuff tonight. Things that I think we all need. But how are you doing? How's life? How's life and goodness and families and babies? How's your health? How are you sleeping? I did a whole coaching session today on sleeping because my client was like, yeah, I don't sleep. I'm like, what? You can't just be like, I don't sleep and keep going. Like, we got to fix that one. And so there's all these little puzzle pieces, right? And you guys get this. There's all these puzzle pieces the fitting together to make life extraordinary. And when some of those puzzle pieces fall out, or we got a lot of things going on, or you get COVID, like we did, or Rachel had a toothache for a couple of weeks, and then we got COVID after that. I said Rachel had a toothache for a couple weeks.
I had the toothache.
Then we got COVID together, and like, so it was a good month of like total unproductiveness, and then getting back into the swing, right? And so these little things can drop by the wayside, and we think, oh man, I don't know, it's a big deal, but it starts to have a cost. And we're going to talk about all this tonight, just compound really getting it done. Effect. Yeah, the compound effect, but against you, right? It starts working against you. So in this whole thing, you really got to look at all the pieces and sit back and be like, okay, what is it I really want? What do I want to accomplish? What do I need to accomplish? What are the obstacles in my way? And then
what are the opportunities
in my way? And let's get after it, right? Because who wants to live a lame, unproductive life? Nah, lame-o, right?
People
I guess, yeah, you're right. Some people do. And we love those people. It's okay. Oh, but not me, man. Not me. I want to get things done.
And you felt like you haven't been getting things done.
Yeah, I've been feeling frustrated at my lack of productivity. So this is timely for me as well. Let's see. Emily says, baby is sleeping right now. Looks like he'll be waking up any minute. Right. But we'll roll while we can. Okay, let's lean in here by asking first, what is it that you most want and need to get done?
Because the topic tonight is
getting things done, right? Which in part
comes from one of my favorite books. I actually have 2 copies of Getting Things Done.
So I
got one for you, but
he stole that title from me. Because I opened a folder years ago.
He wrote the book and you didn't.
Oh, yeah. Thief and robber.
No.
I have a file called Getting Things Done. Actually, I think I changed it to Get It Done because he was like, he took my title, man. But so Rachel's going to share a bunch of good stuff from David Allen, who I think for me personally is probably he's a little bit organized. but we're gonna he's a little bit organized. He's a lot bit organized.
Yeah.
But let's share. What are the things, and those of you watching the recordings, I know some of you couldn't make it tonight. I really want you to write this down. So I hope you got a journal out. I hope you got a notebook, something, open some notes on your phone. What are the things you want and need to get done? Now, most of you are going to learn to lean towards your need list first. Because I know how your minds work. You're like, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. But let's include some wants. Like, what do you want to get done?
Well, because the reality is, I know for me at least, if I spend all my time doing things I need to do, but never do the things I really want to do or enjoy doing, then life just becomes like meaningless and miserable. And then I don't enjoy it. And I'm like, what's the point if I'm not enjoying life? So I have to make sure that I get those things in that I want to do, so that I actually enjoy living every day.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm trying to find a journal because I'm going to take notes. When Rachel talks, I take notes, people. I think what you said there is really valid. We often look at productivity as like, I'm achieving, I'm accomplishing, I'm moving forward. But there's a very important element there that she just shared of the fact that if we want to enjoy life, and jot this down, please, let this sink in. If you want to enjoy your life, you must be effective.
What?
And
Whoa, what?
what?
That was like not
What?
where I thought it was going for
What?
some reason.
Oh,
Maybe you're not done yet.
what? Well, you have to learn how to get things done in order to, like, as you're sharing that, I'm like, yeah, because if my life is chaotic and unproductive and ineffective, I'm not going to be enjoying my life very much. So that's where my train of thought went.
Interesting, because that's not exactly what I was thinking your train of thought was going to be, because you're like, oh, you have, in order, because I'm thinking you need to do things that are you want to do are meaningful, and you're like, you need to be effective. But what you said following up there, I see how that fits in, because you're right. If you only just did all the things you want to do, right?
Well, you wouldn't even do that because you're not effective. You talk. I listened to this book the other day. He's like, people love to talk about talking about the things they're going to do, right? And who was it that said you can't build a reputation on things you're going to do, right?
Forward, yeah.
So even in saying, if you only do the things you want to, even to be able to do them, you have to have some effectiveness.
Yes.
You got to be able to move forward and get things done.
What I'm thinking is because some people that say, well, I just want to sit around and watch Netflix series, right? Like that's what I want to do. But the reality is, if you only did that and things like that, you would actually find it meaningless.
Oh, and you'd live in chaos and mayhem.
So when I'm talking about things I want to do, I'm talking about things that I want to do that are meaningful, because that's actually where true fulfillment comes. It doesn't come from just doing the things you want to do, like Netflix series. It comes from doing the things you want to do that are actually meaningful as well. Which requires you to be effective.
Yeah. And I've been able to do this in speaking and classes and courses I've done. I've been able to ask, like, okay, what are your big goals? What are your dreams? What are the things you want to accomplish in the next 12 months? And nobody yet has been like, I want to binge watch Netflix. I want to get in 150 hours of Netflix. Actually, it's probably closer to 350 the way people are going, right? Some people I talk to, they're like, yeah, we watch a little Netflix every night, right? But nobody sets that down as their yearly goal. Nobody puts that down on New Year's. You're like, 400 hours this year, baby. Woo! Right. And so it's not even those aren't things they want to do. It's they default into them as kind of an escape.
And again, this comes down to the semantics of language, I guess. I mean, yes, it's a thing you want to do. I mean, there's shows we want to watch, right? And you don't even make that face. I know there's shows. Okay. Don't let him kid you. There are shows he wants to watch, right? I can think of a couple right now. But the point is, those are, in a way, secondary wants, right?
Those are the druthers.
Well, okay. What I'm trying to get at is that there's almost a hierarchy of wants.
Yes, there we go.
Like, it's okay to want to do those things and to do them. We're not discounting that. But what we are saying, or at least what I'm saying, is if that's all you do is fulfill those lower hierarchy wants, then you're never actually reaching fulfillment, because you're not putting the the hierarchy, the higher want needs first over the lower want needs. You're not putting the pursuit of making a difference in your family or community over wanting to watch Netflix, if that makes sense, if there's a hierarchy. So it's things we want to, well, it's like that quote from years ago that we heard, many people, the major cause of failure and unhappiness is trading what you want most, the higher, you want, the higher level things for what you want in the moment, like watching Netflix. So you have to realize that there is a hierarchy of wants. And by focusing on the wants that are more fulfilling and meaningful, even though sometimes they're harder to do, that's where true fulfillment and joy, happiness actually come from, as opposed to just filling the wants that are ultimately less satisfying in the long run.
Boom. Love it. Okay. So let's ask again. And I want you guys can jump on the mic here and chime in, throw it in the chat box. And I know a few of you just jumped in. So tonight we're talking about getting things done. And I'm going to safely assume here that most of you want to be productive and effective. You want to get things done. You're high achieving people, and you're driven. Some of you are quite ambitious, and you have dreams and goals, or you just even have lots of responsibilities and children, right?
They're
and
one in the same.
They're double.
Oh, well.
Kids are double. And so what it is you want to get this done. So I want to hear from you. What is it you
So the question
want
is, if we're talking about getting things done, what is it you want
what do you want
done?
to get done?
Especially after we gave that lengthy explanation of hierarchy of wants.
What do you want to get done?
And maybe Netflix is on. That's okay. Be honest.
Ooh, nice. Trying to start a new course of study. Fantastic. It's been a challenge to add it to all the list of things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So starting
wanting to learn something new.
A new course that you're taking. That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Not a course you're creating. Per se.
Okay. Keep coming. Keep them coming. Throw them in there. And I know you guys all have more than one. What do you want to get done? What do you want to get done? And I'm asking this again, those of you watching the recording, write this down, because you have to get clear about specific things you want to achieve in order to, I mean, I would say maybe that's the first piece of effectiveness of getting things done, is knowing what you want to get done.
Well,
and
absolutely.
Prioritizing them, because we might often be getting things done that are of lower value on our hierarchy. And you're like, man, I'm getting that done, but what I really want is to get this done.
Yeah, absolutely. What length of time are we talking about? Great question.
Ooh, excellent question.
I would say that's open.
Me too. But let's give it. Okay.
It's a very powerful strategy. I mean, we've done this multiple times. We try to do something like it every year, where you want to back out and you need to look at the big picture, like on a big lifetime scale. What do we want to get done? One of those things is build a family legacy, which we've talked to in detail about, but obviously sounds vague when you say it like that. But we have a vision together of what that looks like.
But even if we never check in on the vision,
yeah,
then I'm over here getting things done, right? I'm getting things done. And then we come back and check on this and go,
wow, you were way over there.
Yeah, that wasn't fitting into this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to check in with the big picture and make sure the things you're doing in the short term fit towards the things you're trying to accomplish in the long term. So that's worth writing down and thinking about. Do my short-term accomplishments fit into my long-term accomplishments?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. So if one day you want to have multiple streams of income, but you just keep working this job over here and doing a really great job. And I remember meeting this lady at the grocery store one day. She was the cashier. I was checking out, and I was just talking to her, being friendly. She was just having a rough day, I could tell. So I was like talking to her, hey, how you doing? Just trying to cheer her up and talking to her. And I get talking, turns out she's got 2 master's degrees, okay, had worked in the corporate world. And then her company that she had climbed the ladder in just went belly up, and they let her go. And she's like, I ended up here at a grocery store with 2 master's degrees. And she was really kind of bitter and resentful, like all of that. And here I am. It's like, whoa, wow, right? And so like, is what you're doing in the short term fitting in what you want to do in the long term? So, but to give you, if you want to answer your question, does it fit in the long term? But let's focus on maybe 3 to 6 months. So what do you want to achieve in the next 3 to 6 months, maybe 9 to 12, if you want to go out a little longer? But let's kind of zone that in right now. And so tonight you can all walk away with more tools and strategies to get things done on the daily and weekly. But a couple more things here. You want to read them?
Yeah. Find a way to feel peace in this crazy world. Good luck with that.
This has been a thought from Rachel Denning.
Have a smoothly running household after some huge shifts in our daily schedules. Yeah, I understand that. Trying to create some sort of structure, routine, and future motivation because feeling so bogged down with surviving day to day, feeling unmotivated to put more pressure on myself.
Yep.
Yeah. Should we address those or read this one?
Read this one.
Okay. I want to work less in my business and more on my business so my husband can be the one working more. He has not been happy being the primary caretaker of our kids, and I would prefer to be the primary caretaker.
Nice.
Okay.
Fantastic. So making shifts in the roles.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these you bring up and more. I know there's so much more on your all of your plates. All of those and more, don't they essentially require us to be effective and productive?
Well, I'm even thinking right now, because you look at something like finding a way to feel peace in the crazy world. You're like, well, what does that have to do with a book on productivity, right? But in my mind, at least the way
everything. That's
what I'm trying to say. Give me a second. In my mind, especially the way my mind works, like that has everything to do with it. Because one of the reasons I'm not feeling peace in a crazy world is because I'm not scheduling into my day a time to focus on feeling peace, whether that's praying, meditating, reading something. Like the thing we have learned through decades of study is that if something matters to you, even something like feeling more peace, you have to actually make time to do it. Because it's not going to happen by default. It's not just going to happen because you want to feel more peace.
But somebody might be saying, I don't have time to be sitting there being peaceful. Plus, I have kids disturbing my peace.
Yes, right. Exactly. I wouldn't know anything about that.
Do you see how this carries over? If you don't have time for peace, then all the more reason to be more effective, to learn how to get things done.
Right.
If your kids in your house and your life is in chaos and it feels totally disorderly, all the more reason why we have to learn how to get things done
Effectively.
If you want, and oh man, I geek out about all this, but I think it was it Archimedes, I think, that said, if I had a lever big enough, long enough, I could move the earth, right? There's this awesome principle of leverage we're going to address tonight, but I just want to put in here. If you get this in place, it helps order everything else.
You can do more with less
stress.
Yeah.
And so you can have.
And you think that sounds crazy, but it's honestly true.
Yeah.
I mean, I do so much now. I get done so much now that I could have never have dreamed was possible when I had my first child. I mean, I thought I was so busy back then. And I literally do probably 100 times more now than I did then. Like 100 times is not exaggerated. It's ridiculous. But I'm also less stressed than I was then. Isn't that weird?
Is that hitting home, you guys? What we're talking about, like, this is real stuff that alters the quality and outcome of your life. If you can learn, and this is learnable, it's not have or have nots. It's not luck. It's not like, geez, Rachel's so lucky. It's learnable. If you guys would have seen us when we were first married, oh man.
It was embarrassing.
We couldn't get hardly anything done. And we thought we were busy and swamped and like, I'm doing so much, right? But it's a mindset, it's a skill set, it's learnable, and this transforms your life.
It's the swimming analogy. Do you want to give that analogy again?
Yeah. So there I was, Just kidding. I wasn't there. Well, actually, I was there. I remember one day we were on this lake in Central America, and I was talking to my friend who lives by the lake. And I was like, oh, do you like swimming? And he's like, he was in his 40s. And he's like, I don't know how to swim. I was like, you live next to this lake. You're in your 40s. You have no idea how to swim. He's like, no. He's like, most of us don't. I'm like, what do you mean most of you? And like the whole country. I started asking around, I realized like most of the country never learned how to swim. And we're on this boat, and we're taking this boat across. And I was on this boat lots of times, and sometimes there was big storms, and everyone on the boat was like, they thought it was all over. And I realized how terrifying it must be because they don't know how to swim. Had the boat gone down, I just swam over shore. Hiked home, right? They don't know how to swim. So getting just 10 feet from shore and falling in is life-threatening. But for you, most of you, I'm going to assume most of you know how to swim. Like we push you off the boat and splash some water, and you're going to and swim around, have fun, and get back in. So what's life-threatening for one person is actually fun and enjoyable and playful for another. Let that hit home. What you feel like is crushing you is like enjoyable for somebody else that's developed the skill set. But then what if I take you out 2 miles from shore? How many of you are in trouble at 2 miles?
I might be in trouble at 10 feet, honestly.
Okay. All right, Rachel. We're going to take Rachel out to 100 feet. And she's like, help! It's 100 feet. Can you even backflow that? No, she can't even backflow effectively because she has to plug her nose, right? Skill set.
I put my face under
skill set. Rachel has to plug her nose. But what happens if you backflow with one hand? You go in circles.
This doesn't make sense. If I'm backfloating, I don't have to plug my nose.
Once there's waves.
Okay.
And you're like, there's
then
waves.
You're right. Then
so then you're backfloating in circles. It's all skill set. This is perfect. Thank you for letting us use you in our metaphor. But at 2 miles, most of us would be in trouble, right? I'd be in trouble. I mean, I'd make it, but it'd be tough. And yet I have a friend who he'll go out in the ocean and swim 2 miles and come back, and I was like, oh, that was so peaceful.
So meditative.
Yeah. He's like, swimming like that is meditation for me. I'm like, meditation? I would be like fearing for my life, like swallowing salt water. I'm like, this is horrible. Worst day of my life. And he's like, oh man,
2 miles.
So peaceful, in touch with nature, right? And what's the difference? What's the difference between my friend who cannot swim and my friend who swims 2 miles for meditation? It's training. It's skill set. And so today we're going to give that same principle around getting things done. That as you cultivate the skill set and you get really good at it, all the things on your plate right now, you'll look back and be like, I was stressing over that? Seriously? And you're going to be able to free up time, have more space,
have more
peace, more joy, more time for more bandwidth, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, for things you want to do. Some of you will be able to rest and recover more. Some of you will be able to take on more. You ambitious people, you're going to get this, you get in control of this. You're like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm taking on more responsibility. And that's great. But you've got to learn how to do this. Oh yeah.
And honestly, I mean, I love that analogy so much because I've seen that in my own life. It's so true. Comparing myself with one child, well, even hilariously enough would be before we had any kids, when I still thought I was so busy, is like, the friend that didn't know how to swim. And then to myself now, I mean, in some ways I'm kind of like the 2 mile swimmer.
7 kids and a business and a husband.
Seriously. But it's simply the only way that has happened to me, right, is because I developed the skills that make doing more seem less frightening and troublesome. I don't know.
Yeah. Like it's less of a burden.
Yeah, it's less of a burden.
Now, so those of you right now who are just barely hanging on with your kiddos, and I don't do this to make anyone feel bad, but just as perspective, now looking back, like, dude, 3 kids, 4 kids, like that would be easy to have 4 kids.
Don't say things like that.
No, but then somebody looks at us. We met a lady, super awesome lady. She gave birth to 14 children. And I knew she was sitting there like, oh, I remember when I had only 7 kids.
I remember when I had half
We're like,
the size
yo,
of
we
my
got
family
7 kids.
now.
And most people are like, wow, that's a lot. She's like, oh, cute. I remember when I only had 7. Like, what? But it's developing, right? Okay, let's dive in. Let's give these people some tools.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen. Well, let me do this. Let me ask, where are you struggling the most? Because each of you have a different struggle. Where are you struggling the most when it comes to getting things done? What are your obstacles?
I don't think we read this one yet.
What are your
though,
challenges?
sorry.
Which one?
Oh, wait, we did
Yeah,
work.
we did. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Where are you struggling? And do not be afraid to hit that little microphone button. We want to hear your beautiful voices.
Well, in some ways, it is here.
Okay, it's a little bit there. Yeah.
So maybe we should just address
Okay.
those.
Dele. Or just give them the principles, just dive into the book. Let's just give them the tools and strategies and training.
Yeah, but I like to give it specifically to the actual topics
Great.
instead of in generalities.
Okay.
So, okay, again, I already kind of started with something like, and I'm going to try to walk you through how I think about these types of things, right? Because having studied, read this book and books like this, and all of the things I've learned over, 20 years of family and married life, I think the place where I am now, well, okay, first of all, I wanted to say this. I was going to say this before and I forgot. I also want to clarify that being more capable, having more peace, having more time, having less stress doesn't mean it doesn't exist at all. I still have stress. I still have tough days. I still have all the same challenges, but it's interesting how it works and we'd like to talk about this a lot, that you're leveling up, you're constantly leveling up. So the challenges are similar in their, I don't know, format, essence, but it's on a different level, if that makes sense. And so we're not here saying that, oh, you're going to get to this magic place where you no longer ever have stress and everything is just perfect and peaceful and, your kids will never argue. Like, no, that's not what we're talking about. But what we are talking about is you increase in the capability to deal with those things. And what I've noticed is that I'm able to be more cognizant and aware of what is going on. So when there are off periods, say when schedules get thrown off, when you get COVID, when whatever, all these different things happen, you're able to see it for what it is and say, okay, this is this time period right now. What's the bare minimum I need to keep things, somewhat functioning? And when it's over, I'll be able to go back and put everything back in place. And so instead of it being a stressful thing, it's just kind of like, I'm going to enjoy this time being sick because I don't have to worry about doing all the stuff because I have a good excuse, right? Yes, you have a comment?
So, man, I was sitting down, writing down these thoughts and ideas, and you just hit it. One of the key ingredients is you can see it more clearly now.
You can see what's going on.
And right before she said that, I literally don't. I'm like, if you can't see it, then you can't fix it. Exactly. Or improve it.
Exactly.
And by it, I'm really referring to the first step to getting things done is you have to be able to see yourself and your situation clearly.
Yes.
And it's kind of an abstract concept because you're like, well, I can see that I have a problem and it's not working. But that's not it. It's stepping way back. And this is what's cool. We get to do this when we're coaching, is we get to have this objective view and we get to see it. And so many people are like, step back and like, oh, it's not your situation and it's this little tool set right here that you're missing. And one easy way to explain that is actually with tools. If you saw me trying to get a nail in a piece of wood, if I got a nail in a 2x4 and I've got a screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, and I'm like, this is so brutal. My life is so hard. I'm getting on social media like, you guys, you don't know, I'm having the worst day ever. And I'm just pounding like, I work all the time. Like, it's just, I'm giving all my effort and focus and attention. And I'm just going. And you're sitting there going,
dude,
get
a hammer.
Get a hammer. And you're like, hey, Greg, why don't you try this? Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know if that'll work. And like, just give it a try. Okay. Boom. Like, what? This is amazing. And then I'm like just pounding nails, right? So the one that was just so much of a burden for me, now I'm pounding all the nails. And then this guy walks over and you're like, dude, I'm crushing it. Look at all these nails I'm hitting. And he walks over, he's like, that's the slowest way I've ever seen nails put in. You're like, what are you talking about? And he pulls out this amazing nail gun. And he's got 150 nails in there. He's hooked up to an air compressor. And he's like, watch this. Bah, 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 bah. Like effortless. So we go from the guy using the wrong tool to an okay tool to the power tool. And we're all trying to do the same job. And this guy's getting it done. He's just blowing away. He's more than 10xing the other guy. That's what we're talking about tonight.
And then Miriam asked a great question. How do we do that?
Well, you go to Home Depot and you buy an air compressor with a nail gun. No, okay, so there we go. We want to give you some.
Well, that's what we want to talk about. So the specific thing of how do we do that? How do we actually look at our life to see what's going on and how to address it? It seems too simple to be the answer, but what I do is I literally just pay attention to what I'm feeling during the day. And so if I'm like, oh, I feel really annoyed and irritated, instead of just going on with my day, like, oh, whatever, I got stuff to do and get done, I stop and I pause and I think, why? Why am I feeling annoyed and irritated? Well, it's because I'm worried about the craziness in the world. I'm irritated by politics. Okay. And then I sit and think about it. What can I do about that? And sometimes it will take longer, right? Something like that's a bigger issue. And so it can take longer to figure that out. But I realize that I have to spend some time thinking about it. Because here's the thing, these feelings and problems, they don't just go away. If you are feeling upset about the craziness in the world, guess what? That's not just going to go away. And you definitely can't wait until the world is not crazy anymore to wait for peace.
Unless you're a man. Men can do that.
What?
You guys know. Men have this compartmental little brain. And we're like, I don't like thinking about that. I'm done. Like,
but, okay, you can, I guess what I'm saying is you can put it aside to focus on whatever you need to get done. But if you never actually addressed it, then that's another form of emotional stacking. Yep. That still happens for men.
Yep.
Okay. So that's more of what I'm talking about. I'm not just talking about, yes, I can do the same thing. I can put aside the craziness of the world for a minute because I have to load the dishwasher. Like I can do that. But what I'm saying is if it's continually there and I never take some time to address those feelings and what I'm going to do about it, and I'm starting with a big one here, like peace and the craziness of the world, because it's still a part of what's adding to your overall stress. Because the stress in our life isn't just coming from the dishes that have to be done and the baby that's crying and the kids that are fighting. It's also coming from our internal thoughts and feelings about bigger world issues and even existential questions, right? That is still all adding to our feelings, and that is stacking to create more and more stress. So there has to be space made in our day, or at least at the very least our week, which he talks about in this book and another one, to focus on these things that are adding stress to our life. And so we start by noticing, wow, I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling whatever the emotion is. Why? We have to know, we have to pay attention to why we're feeling that. And it might be something like, well, because of COVID, or because of whatever, political unrest, because of whatever this thing is. But if we just say, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about that, so I'm going to ignore it, the stress doesn't necessarily go away. I'm going kind of deep on this because I feel it's kind of important right now, even though it's not exactly related to being productive, but I think it's related and necessary right now.
Well, because it's so disruptive.
Yes, exactly.
So it's so disruptive to productivity. It's so disruptive.
Yes.
Who can relate to that? Like, you're trying to get something done, but your mind is all over this problem and that problem.
Something comes up on social media and you're like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm so angry about it. And yes, it disrupts your thought processes. It disrupts your feelings and emotions. In fact, it often hijacks it. So it is critical, and it is actually a key piece to becoming productive and getting to that leverage point that we're talking about of being able to do more with less stress. Is you have to actually address those things. And that is one of the key aspects of our productivity, is we take time to address those things. And sometimes that means in the middle of the day, Greg and I are having a conversation about who knows what, politics or something else, because we both feel like this thing has to be addressed. Because ultimately, with all of it, even with the things you have no control over, you have to somehow settle it in your own soul what it is you can actually do. So for me, I felt the same things. I felt the same worries and stresses over the chaos in the world. And I resolved that in my soul by deciding to focus on what I can do, which is spiritual practices, reading of inspiring literature or scripture, right? Focusing on the things that actually bring me more peace, because ultimately the peace is here. It's not outside of us, and it can never be outside of us. Our peace is here, and so we have to find the peace within. So yeah, that's
good.
That's important.
That's good.
Now, though,
okay,
to go
get into some specific
to go
strategies.
On to other more specific, tangible things, right? Because that's kind of an abstract topic or concept, although it does directly relate, like we're talking about, because it can hijack. And this is true with if you get in a fight with your spouse or you get in a fight with your kids, all of that can hijack your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings, and keep you from getting done the things you really want and need to get done. Yes. So learning how to manage all of that is often one of the first things we have to do in order to become more productive, because sometimes we can't be productive because we're so busy like putting out fires all the time. Yep. Or we're just so busy feeling angry or upset or annoyed that we can't even get motivated to do anything because our body is taken over with these other emotions. Because it does require feeling certain emotions to be productive or to be motivated or to take action on things that matter most to us. And so if we don't manage those negative emotions or negative, sometimes just even neutral emotions, I guess, and learn to channel our energy, our thoughts, our emotion towards the things we want, we can't be more productive. We can't be swimming those 2 miles meditatively unless we learn how to focus that energy. Does that make sense?
So if you're taking notes, we'll put together like a little list here. Maybe if that helps you to have a little list of things. I would say one of them is it's an absolute must. It's not a nicety, it's not a luxury. It's an absolute must to have some simple practices that get you settled mentally and emotionally.
Personal practices.
You got to start from the inside out.
Right.
Because even if we give you the best tools and strategies, even if we give you the nail gun, so to speak, if you're not managing your thinking and your emotions well,
It's
the nail gun
dangerous.
doesn't serve you. Yeah, it
That
actually
nail gun
becomes
is
dangerous. No, but it won't serve you. You won't use it because you're just, oh, I can't do it. I got this, and I'm so, you're so distracted and disrupted and disturbed by it. The tools and strategies won't help you.
Right. So I would say definitely one of the first things in order to get more done is to establish some sort of personal practice of morning routine, like we've talked about. Ideally, it's in a morning routine because that's how you start the day. It's, how you spend the day. Doing that makes a huge difference. It really does. I know we've said it so many times, but it makes the biggest difference. But guess what? Here's the biggest key. And I relearned this myself again because we got COVID, threw us off. We were sleeping at all times of weird hours and sleeping lots and lots. If you don't have a good evening routine, it's difficult, if not impossible, to have a good morning routine. Yeah.
How many of you, and you can, well, I can't see most of you, but how many of you need a better evening routine? And I'm asking this because I want you to kind of either literally or figuratively raise your hand if this is a problem. You got like acknowledge the issue. How many of you, and you can throw me in the chat box, how many of you need a better evening routine?
Is that a face slap?
Right? We need, well, okay, now you're staying up late to be here with us.
Yeah, really.
Because you're on the other side of the world.
And Emily has a baby. Exception.
Exception. There are some exceptions, clearly.
Yes.
But
which comes
in general, take ownership and control of your evenings. Now, some of my clients are like, yeah, we would, but our kids. I'm like, okay, then take ownership of your kids' evening routines.
Right. Because
be the parent.
Because, over the age of 6 to 12 months, you should be more in charge than your kids are in charge, right? Like there has to come that transition where you're now in charge. So if the evening routine's not happening because of the kids, you have to be in charge of switching that up. So again, this goes back to, we were talking about the exceptions. Sometimes, yeah, there's these exceptions. And so that comes back to being able to see where you are in life and say, okay, right now there's an exception, and I will get to that point where I can get back to this evening routine and morning routine. I don't want to dwell too long on this because I want to cover some other things, but
right, let's just hit it.
I think we do have to emphasize that. Like, again, if we give you the nail gun, is that what it's called? It's not going to be helpful if you are not doing something as simple as like a morning routine to help you get your mindset
without an evening routine. Right. So really starting at the simplest level, get a good solid evening routine so you can get to bed and sleep well.
Yeah. Okay. So then something like household systems and schedules, right? Structure and routine. Yeah. All of those types of things. The way my mind works. Oh, yeah.
I want to start on this one.
Okay.
May I? Or you go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to share like the way I think about this.
Okay.
Because the reality is there's always going to be something that interrupts routines. And there's going to be routines that you establish or systems that you establish that stop working. Like that's just the nature of existence in a way. Like things don't just keep working. Their tendency is to wear down and break down and stop working, right? That's how it works. So with this idea of being cognizant of what's happening in your life with this kind of bigger picture view, you have to realize that this is a part of your role as a caretaker, homemaker, whatever we want to call it nowadays, a household manager. This is part of your role, is being able to observe what's going on and make necessary adjustments. Now, one of the things I do is I just simply focus on what's right in front of me. And what that means is if I notice something that's off or hasn't been done or has been neglected, I pay attention to that and I say, okay, this hasn't been done. Why hasn't it been done? This child was supposed to do it. Why didn't they do it? And I go back upstream like that to the source of the problem, and then I address the source of the problem. Maybe it's because I haven't been paying them for their jobs like I had agreed to. Or maybe it's because they had friends in town and so there was a good excuse for it to not get done. Or maybe it was because they need to set a reminder for themselves to get it done. Like, you have to think through it from all different angles to analyze what is the reason that that thing isn't getting done the way I want it to. Now, understandably, there could be hundreds of things like that in your day, every day, right? But if I can take the time to focus on one thing at a time, then little by little, I make progress on those things.
As long as you address that thing for good.
For
as much as you possibly can.
As much as possible. Because in the future, it can still become a problem.
Right. But some problem, yeah, you're right. Some problems we just keep addressing again and again and again. It never gets fixed.
This thing isn't done. And so our first response might be to yell at the kid, hey, I told you to do this and you didn't do it.
So
that's not a good long-term solution.
He gets it done. You're like, okay, the thing's done.
I won't even mention it because I'll say, what's wrong with my system that this hasn't gotten done? And then I go to fix the system instead of getting after the kid. And if necessary, I mean, this is more effective, I will have a devotional meeting where we talk about, hey, I've set up this system and you haven't been following it. And so how can we work this system better so I don't have to always be reminding you to do these things, right? So I know that that sounds like a lot of work and a lot of thinking and a lot more that you have to do instead of less that you have to do, because you're like, I thought this was supposed to be easier. Like, I thought it was supposed to be, what did we say? More something and less stress, more done, less stress, right? And I guess that's why I'm mentioning it and bringing it up, is because it's human nature for us to want to find the quick, fast, easy solutions. But because of the nature of existence and the nature of chaos all around us, when we do that, we actually just perpetuate more chaos. So it's this, Stephen Covey said years ago, he's like, it's the simplicity on the far side of complexity. And I know I've mentioned this before and I've talked about it before, but it's so true. And I think one of the reasons that a lot of people struggle with finding the structure, creating the systems, just getting things to work, is that they're not willing to go through the complexity in order to get to the simplicity that is on the other side. Because there's this amazing thing that happens when you go through mentally, and usually this is what happens. I am personally going through mentally creating a system and figuring out how to motivate my kids, how to get them to do the chores, how to identify all of the chores that actually need to be done. When I spend the mental time to think about things like that, first of all, I better understand the systems themselves, right? I better understand what actually is involved in getting things done. And so I'm better able to pick out key components. This makes it easier. This right here, when this happens, it facilitates everything else happening easier. And you're able to see it from this bigger perspective of like, wow, oh, look, okay, this right here, this is my home organization. It's actually all right here. I can see it all. And now it makes sense instead of standing in the middle of it, looking around like, this is a confusing mess. I don't know what to do with it. Does that make sense? Am I making sense at all? Or are you just totally lost?
I was like, what? And I was like, huh? I got confused.
Great. So, anyone else confused? Am I like just totally geeking out here and you guys are like, I don't even know what you're talking about right there. It's like,
I think it would be valuable. I love what you're saying. I think it would be valuable. Here's what I'm doing in my mind right now. if Rachel and I, and man, how we would love to do this, it's just not feasible. But if Rachel and I were able to come and visit your house and just observe for a few days or a week, and you're like, yeah, come over and just be outside observers and watch our systems and the coming and going and watch what's going on and help us get more things done in an easier way. And I think initially, as I was going through that, I'm like, initially, just with all the people we were able to work with, and even some of my clients today in some of my coaching sessions, I think one of the things we would see most often right away is that we all need to simplify our lives. Right.
Which
And
sounds ironic when I was just talking about complexity,
exactly.
and yet
so
it's directly connected.
And you're talking about, okay, we're gonna get this set up and this set up, this set up. Like the low-hanging fruit for most of us is just like, you need to simplify your life. And part of that's like super easy of just getting rid of stuff. Like we would come in the house, because I see this all the time. You come in, it's like there's so much stuff. And one of my clients today, he's like, man, he's like, my wife and I were standing in our closet this week, and I'm like, I've got enough clothes in here for 4 people for like a lifetime. And I was like, what'd you do about it? He's like, well, I'm going to take care of it. I'm like, yeah, what'd you do? You didn't do anything. You thought about doing something. So I'm like, today, when you go home from work, you're going to go in there, the box, and you're clean out and done. And he's like, yeah, you know what? He's like, I bought this motorcycle because it was a really good deal. And I decided to take it apart and like clean it up and put it back together to sell it. He's like, it's been sitting in my garage in pieces for years. I'm like, dude,
Okay,
put it in the back of your truck, take it to the junkyard, like clean things out. So it's like low-hanging fruit that I think for all of you would be a first step of like free up some space so you can do the thinking Rachel's talking about.
yes.
You got to simplify it inside and out.
This is actually a very, very important point, because the reality about living at a higher level, meaning you're capable of managing everything in your life, includes simplifying a lot of that. If you want to get really good at doing the things you do, you have to get complex with them. And the only way you can get complex with the things that matter to you is if you get rid of the things that don't matter. You have to simplify. You have to get rid of all the projects you can't manage and only accept the ones you can. You have to clean everything out of your house unless it has a specific place. And if it doesn't, it needs to go.
See ya.
Like, these are key elements, and we tend to neglect them and think, oh, it doesn't matter that I've had a broken, disassembled motorcycle in my garage for 3 years. Yes, actually it does. It matters a lot, because it means you have more on your plate than you can actually deal with.
So let's do this right now. Everybody, again, either in the chat or write it in your notes, or if you're reading the recording, like write this down, make it like a mental commitment, even a verbal commitment to yourself. What do you need to go through and purge or get rid of? I bet some of you know things right now you just need to get rid of. So
Well,
do that first. And then I also want to address what you said. You have to say no. I'm going to say this. I think boldly, because of all the people I've worked with, I think I can be bold about this and say all of you have things you need to say no to. We've created this culture of this just say yes to everything culture. You've all, again, if I came to your house and I'm sitting here watching, I'm like, you've said yes to way too much. Just get rid of everything else. Like Rachel was saying, if it doesn't fit in your life, it's not part of your big vision, your goals and your dreams, how you really want to do life, say no. Now, immediately, I can hear voices. I can hear your voices in my head.
wow.
I'm hearing voices. You're saying, oh, but I'm supposed to, and we should. And isn't that what others tell us to do? And but what about this? And what about that? And at some point you have to draw the line and say, nope, I want to live an absolutely extraordinary life. And I want to get things done that matter to me, like the things in the chat box here with your marriage and your children,
your business
and your business and having peace,
systems.
right? And systems and strategies. But you can't, because you've said yes to so many things.
And you can't take time to focus on having more peace because you have so many things going on, so many projects, so many unfinished projects, right? That there's no room. Now,
Here, let's read this. Emily just, I don't want you to lose your train of thought.
I already did.
Gone.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay, Emily wrote this down. I just finished a book that said every 6 months, write down every responsibility you have and then eliminate half.
Exactly.
Just like you're saying, it really made an impact on me. Yes,
Great.
thank you so much.
In fact, I was going to talk about that with this book because he talks about that same thing in this book. This book, Greg, again, he made a comment about him being so organized. And the reality is he has an entire method in this book, which I actually read the whole book and I went through the entire method, which includes going through and organizing every single thing in your house, every single thing in your inbox, email inbox, everything, every single piece of paper, every single unfinished project, like everything. That's his book.
Does this guy have kids?
I don't know. Probably not. Obviously, like all books like this are guys that don't have kids. Okay, I already know that. But the point I'm trying to make, which is why I'm not going into detail with this book, but the point I am trying to make is you can only do something like that when you simplify your life. But when you do something like that, you actually have way more control over your life. When you can physically or mentally touch everything it is you're trying to work on, then you can be in control. And if you can't do that, then your life is out of control and you have too much. So you go and you write down every responsibility you have. You write down every project you have. You write down every duty, role, dream you have. And then you eliminate the ones that don't really matter. And then you focus on the ones that really do matter and you do them really well with something like this. It doesn't have to be that one, but.
And it's really is mission critical.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to live a happy and fulfilling and joyful, productive life, this isn't a nicety, it's a must. And you got to carve out space. And so you might be thinking right now, I'm hearing voices again. You might be thinking like, I don't even have the bandwidth or time to sit down to think about it. I don't have the time to touch all my stuff and organize all my stuff. Are you kidding me? And this is where I'm like, say no. If you said no to something right now, in fact, can all of you share something in the chat box or on the microphone? All of you share something that you need to say no to. What's something you need to just eliminate from your schedule in life right now? If not for good, at least for now. And get specific on this, because if we were doing coaching and I was talking to you one-on-one, I'm gonna ask you, I'm gonna sit here and be like, okay, tell me something you're gonna remove from your life. And I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna look at you. I'm gonna wait until you tell me what you're removing. Right now, in this kind of thing, you can kind of sit back passively and be like, yeah, I should do that. And not say anything. I want you to identify it. What are you gonna remove? And I promise all of you have something that if you said no to it, there you go. Now you just freed up 2 or 3 hours this week. And you spend those 2 or 3 hours freeing up other things. So really the first piece in this for all of you is to free up time. And then the second step is to take that time and bandwidth and use it more productively and effectively to get things done.
Or I would say initially to use it as time that you just sit and think.
Right.
Because sometimes you just need that. You just need time to sit and think about what really matters to me. What do I really want to be doing? What do I hate doing? If there's something in your life you hate doing, I'll give you a clue right here. You should get rid of that. Don't do things you hate doing. If there's, it really, this was something I was thinking of before when you were talking, like if there's one super amazing benefit to our life, it's that we have eliminated most of the things we hate doing. And we don't say yes to things we feel obligated to do. So we only focus on doing the things we actually really want to do. That's what our life looks like. But it only happened because we've been intentional about doing that.
Yes. Yeah.
Just being
great.
less on the phone frees exponential amounts of time in my headspace. Exactly.
Yes.
That one of the
Oh my goodness,
systems I
yes.
set up years ago is I have very few notifications that come on my phone. They're only for essential things, like from Greg, messages from him.
Which she rarely has her phone with her,
Duolingo,
so
so
I
I
call and text and call and text and nothing.
I do not receive any. That's one of the things I don't do. I don't answer my phone. That's just a rule I made years ago. I don't accept phone calls because most of the time it can be handled with text or email. There's no reason for me to be talking on the phone. That's just something I don't do.
Hey, you guys see that? That's a form of saying no.
Now I'll
have to
answer
pick up
my
the phone.
mother's phone call when she calls, or my aunt, or Greg's, but otherwise I don't answer phone calls. I just don't.
Okay, so we need some more things here, people. What are you going to say no to? We have to get specific. And then actually, we have another training tonight, but I would love to answer some specific questions you might have about getting things done. If you have like a specific situation, like how do I address that? We can spend a few minutes addressing that. But before we do that, I want a commitment from everyone. What are you removing from your life? What are you simplifying? What are you saying no to? What are you getting rid of? How are you going to free up space? Because just like Yael was saying, just 30 minutes a day, you guys, if you just cut out 30 wasted minutes on your phone, that turns into 22 8-hour work days in a year. Let that sink in. 30 minutes wasted time on your phone is 22 8-hour work days. Do you think you could get something done this year if you had 22 8-hour work days to work on it? Yeah. You kidding me? I mean, 15 minutes. Okay, let's go back 15 minutes. 15 minutes of just wasted time is 97 hours. If you did nothing else but trade that little bit of waste for audiobooks, you go through 90 or meditation, 97 hours of learning or meditating.
I guarantee you would feel more peaceful. I could give that guarantee.
Yeah, absolutely. Or what if you spent 97 hours this year getting rid of stuff in 15-minute increments? Ah, yeah, baby. Oh man, that baby's so cute. I want another baby. I want lots of babies.
Grandbabies.
Look at that. Oh, I can't wait. Oh, look, he's all alert. Look at that cute. Oh, so cute. Cute, 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 cute. Okay, Instagram scrolling. See ya. It's out. If you want to do it, give yourself a time limit.
Yeah.
Set a timer for 5 minutes and scroll. When the timer goes off, phone goes off. Done. Right? What else? That's only one, you guys. Bring it. Come on. I want all the goods. I want you to commit here.
So I'm having a little bit of trouble coming up with something, probably because I have a baby, but
Probably.
I'm trying to find pockets of time, and it is difficult because I have said no to new projects that have come my way, or projects that just don't fit. And then I've outsourced cleaning, not entirely, just like twice a month. So that like really helps. I don't have to do cleaning the bathroom or anything.
Good.
Oh, did I cut out? So yeah, I'm not sure how else I can be more efficient. I'm really trying to just be more aware of what it is I need to do and just do that first. But the biggest problem is trying to get my husband into my role and me into more of his role, and basically work when the kids sleep, which is kind of difficult. So I'm not sure if Rachel has any tips on that. Just because I don't want my husband to not like his life the way it is. You know, he wants to earn money and kind of have roles reversed. So.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it is obviously a lot more difficult, especially when you have a baby, because that's just the time period of life. But I can say that it is about, I think for me, it's about feeling the flow, right? And being mentally prepared to do certain things when I have the opportunity type thing. So if I'm prepared, if I know mentally, okay, this is my goal, this is what I need to work on next. Oh, the baby went to sleep. I have 30 minutes. Okay, I'm going to go focus for 30 minutes instead of, and sometimes this has to happen, obviously, where you need to take a nap too, or you need to get a shower or whatever. But sometimes even then I would trade that time. I'd be like, you know what? A shower can wait. I'm going to work while the baby's sleeping. So that's usually how I would do it. And again, it's not ideal. It's not going to be ideal when you have small kids, but it's figuring out how to flow with the family's needs of meeting those needs, because meeting the needs helps everyone feel better. It helps the kids feel better. It helps the husband feel better. And when the needs feel met without neglecting your own needs, then it's easier to support each other. It's easier to be like, hey, babe, you know, I'll do this thing for you that you need. And then can you do this thing for me? You know, it's like, you want to remember that you are a team here. You're in this together. And it's not, there's been many, many times when we have switched roles, so to say, where I was working and he was taking care of the kids and homeschooling, and then vice versa. So in the family unit, I think it's okay to realize that that's sometimes a part of it, and have those discussions, have those talks, and understand, okay, right now I'm working and I know you want to be working. Let's talk about how we can get you there. In the meantime, let me make the money so we can both reach our goals, and just remember that we're in this together. And so we need to work together. So it feels like a team thing instead of maybe like a competition thing.
Right. Yeah. I guess it's kind of a struggle with my husband. He just doesn't feel like a man because he's not working.
That's what I'm thinking here. I knew what he was thinking.
I mean, that's
oh, man, I
exactly
want to
what
talk
he
to him.
said. Yeah. I mean, he's afraid I'm going to lose respect for him. And it's just because we've gone through a really tough time this past year with like the income, and I was the one who had the skills to go out and make the most income with the least amount of time. So it just made sense. But he's at a point where he's just like, I just want to put the kids in daycare, and I don't want that at all, but I understand what he's talking about. So it's
does he want to go get a job?
No, he wants to work in the business. So like, we're in business together technically. He just doesn't have SRE skills.
So okay, but this is work he would do from home?
Yeah.
Does he get up with the baby at night, or do you get up with the baby and nurse?
Pretty much me. He'll change a diaper maybe once.
Boom.
He only wakes up twice.
I was sitting here going, okay. So I'm like, I'm meeting with your husband. I'm like, hey, brother, you sleep at night and sleep well. And then your window is to get up early. You want to work? Get up early and work. And before your wife and your kids get up, you can crank in hours of important, deep work and get it done and feel like you're really contributing and productive. That's what I had to do early on. I'm like, man, I have kids. This is crazy. I just need alone time where I can be focused on get things done. Well, I can't when they're awake. I couldn't when anyone's awake. And so my best option as a dad and a husband was like, get up earlier. And so I started my morning routines early, and I was able to crank out hours of really effective and productive work before anyone else woke up.
Well, or even when we do get up, and this still happens now, we'll get up and start doing our things, but you're still doing work until family time.
Yep. And so kind of coordinated efforts like that. And then the other thing, instead of daycare, you could find a nanny.
Or a mother's helper.
A mother's helper that comes to the house and helps play with the kids and just take care of little things. Oh, get a drink here, a little snack here, just cuddle the baby for a minute. And then that frees up time, even if it's just for a few hours, 2 or 3 times a week. Those are hours that, man, you both could get things done. And it'd be worth it, right? If he can sit down and earn $25 an hour or whatever, $50 an hour, whatever, just he's got $25 an hour, and I'm like 4 hours at that, and I know it's going to pay off, then it's easy to pay somebody $10 an hour to come over and help out. Like a girl, a teen or a young adult woman from the neighborhood or something to come help during those hours. Right? Little strategies like that make a huge difference, you guys. And I hope you're all listening, because whatever your specific circumstance is, you can look for little hacks like that that free up time and get things done. Any further questions there? Is that helpful?
Yes, it was. He's starting to cry. Yeah, so what we were planning was going to Brazil because he's Brazilian, my husband, and so are the kids. So we were just thinking of staying for 6 months and then having his parents watch the kids like for part of the day to do that. But that's kind of, he has to wait a little bit because we have to do quite a bit of paperwork and organizing to, go, but hopefully in a few months. So
Yeah,
he's gonna have to wait.
And
that sounds awesome.
and in a few months, your baby's going to be a lot older.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
keeps getting easier and easier.
Sleep training.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again,
That's a good solution too.
we've been there where it is really hard. And one of the things we do is one or the other of us is constantly reminding the other, hey, it's only temporary. Like, we'll figure it out. I know it's not ideal. We're going to figure it out. It's going to change. It is changing. So that's a part of it too.
And but just yes, but just men. If it were me and him, I love talking to men and working with men. I'd be like, hey, brother, what's going to make you feel like a man? Take total ownership of this. What's it going to be? He's like, I got to get some work done. When are you going to do it? When are you going to carve out time that doesn't interrupt the family to get work done? And all of the men I work with, they're like, I'm going to get up earlier and I'm going to get it done. They all do it. They all do it. Even if they don't like it, they hate it. They're like, I get up, I wake up, I get crap done. And it makes you feel like a man. And if you really want to feel like a man, take a cold shower. That's what I'm talking about right there.
Okay.
Get up, take a cold shower, and you get some work done. Okay, Amy says, man, seriously stumped on this. And this is why I keep asking. And I want to keep pushing here. If you can't clearly identify what you need to say no to, you're always going to feel.
Unless your life feels balanced and in control, then there may be nothing
Right.
to say no to.
Right.
But if it doesn't feel like it's in, like you can control it, like you can manage it,
Or if you don't feel
Then-
really effective and productive,
then there's something to
it
get
needs to go.
rid of. Unless you're in a situation like you have a new baby. That, of course, like, life feels out of control in situations like that. And that's because it is, but it's only temporary. The thing is, this feeling of chaos and overwhelm is meant to be a temporary thing. As human beings, we're not designed or evolved to stay in those states of overwhelm. It's not healthy and it's not sustainable. And if you're living in that constant state, it has to be changed.
So kind of comb through, take a few minutes and just kind of scan over your life, a normal day, a normal week, and just ask yourself, and don't allow yourself to say, I don't know. Just scan over it and be like, what can I clear out? What can I get rid of? How can I address this?
Or as things come up, as you're
Yep.
going through your days and some things are coming at you that need to be done, keep asking yourself, do I actually need to do this? Like, I ask myself all the time. Do I actually need to do this? And if I'm like, no, I don't, then I find someone else to do it for me, or I get rid of doing it. Okay, I'm always asking that.
And a question I love to ask myself is there a better way?
Mm-hmm.
So if it is staying, is there a better way to do this? Can I make it easier? I often get to work with people and see people, they make it unnecessarily difficult on themselves, right? In fact, right after this training, we're going to do our money mastermind. And that's one of the things we're going to address tonight, is just finding these leverage points that take away unnecessary difficulty. Like, what you want to do is kind of, as things come up or scanning over your life, say, what can I say no to? How can I simplify? Where can I can I create space and time for myself and more bandwidth and really get into getting the things done that are actually the most important, and then finding ways to outsource all the other stuff. And I know that seems, for some of you, if you're just getting started on this, that seems like so far
Huge.
off or crazy, but you can set something up like we've talked about lots of times with you guys. Let's say it's the laundry. The laundry is taking up so much of your time. Well, just decide you're never doing laundry again. Like I'm serious. You're like, funny. I'm dead serious. And get one of your kids to do it. Right? And hire them if you need to, or make an arrangement or some kind of deal. You can figure out a deal.
I mean, I've seen kids as young as 7, 8, 9, 10.
They can handle the laundry.
Handling the laundry.
It's awesome. It's so awesome. So just decide, like, I'm not doing that anymore.
Or get rid of a lot of clothes.
There you go. What if you got rid of half of the clothes in your house, which most of us could do? That's just half the laundry. It's amazing. And then you outsource the rest, and you're just like, okay, wow, that's a few hours a week you just bought back for yourself. Hashtag worth it. And then do that again and again and again. And if you're strategic and thoughtful about it, you guys, you'll clear up so much and be way more effective. Now, again, please be patient and graceful with yourself. If you have babies, or if you have kids, like, I was talking about her little 4-year-old with autism, right? That when
And a 2-year-old.
And a 2-year-old, when he takes a nap, you're like, oh, wow, this is amazing, right? But when he's up, it's like, okay, wow. So be patient and graceful with yourself, but also don't just sit back, all of you, don't just sit back and play the victim. Be like, how can I take more ownership here and get more things done? Again, we got to wrap up because we have another training, but.
Well, and Amy says, trying that to get the kids to do the laundry, the kids are starting to get it, but it's work getting the habit established. Yes,
Yep.
Absolutely. We're not claiming it's not work. But the thing is, me speaking from the other side of that, now it is less work. You have to remember you're in this for the long game, right? And so some people want to use that as an excuse of like, oh, it's too much work. And then guess what? The kids are teenagers and it's still too much work to get them to do their own laundry. So yeah, it is work to get that habit established and to teach them how to do it, but it pays off and we don't want to hear this. We want to know what's going to pay off right now, but I'm like, it's going to pay off. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 5. I don't know. I hope it's not 5 years. Okay. But I'm saying it will pay off as long as you don't give up.
You're right. So it comes back to you.
And that feels like a lot because you're like, it's all on me. And I'm like, yeah, it's all on you. Like, welcome to adult life. We have to take on more responsibility. We have to become more capable. We have to become more competent in order to manage a household and a family in a competent way. That is ultimately what it takes. So
if it were me, this is the last thing we gotta wrap up. If it were me and I were picking one area, well, I'd get rid of everything. I would literally go through the house and I'd get rid of everything that's not adding tremendous value to my life.
And especially everything that doesn't have a specific place.
Then I would go through my life and I would say no. I would reach out to people and be like, no, I have clients like, oh, my cousin wants to meet up. And I don't even like going out with my cousin, but like she kind of.
We have no problem saying no to our cousins.
Say no, I can't make it. I got some things and have some things. And you're like, well, what if I don't have a thing? You have things. Trust me, you've got all of this you need to get done. You can say no to people and just be like, no, I'm focusing on my family. Hey, can you take on this responsibility? Hey, could you help us with this thing? Could you help us that? Nope, not right now. I'm focusing on my family. I'm focusing on my life. Please do that. So that's the next thing. And then if I was going to pick something like laundry or the dishes or the yard, I would specifically pick a child fully engaged and say, will you do this with me? I do it anyways, right? For the next month, we're going to do it together. So you're going to have the lawn class. We're going to do it together. And then at the end of the month, it's all you. And so we're going to go through it. And it's all on me. It's all on me to make sure the child gets it done for the next month. But after 1 month, like, no joke, after 1 month, your kids should be doing the laundry. If you've just, okay, we get down, let's do it like this. Okay, it's you. You're on it. And you guys, it will be a game changer. And so as you're going through thinking of these little things, set some alerts, set some reminders, schedule it in, and then honor your schedule. I use a little 3x5 card to track the things I want to work on here. It's got the 28-day habit tracker we have. Check it off, and then start getting your life in order, and you'll be blown away how much you can get done. It's amazing.
And how much better you'll feel.
Yes, and you feel fantastic. Okay, love you guys. And we'll finish with Amy's words. Keep telling yourself it's worth it.
That's right.
Just keep telling yourself it's worth it. Okay, love you guys.
Yes,
Reach
it
upward.
is.